This is FIBA Podcast. Thank you for joining us in our morning daily devotion.
Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast. The topic for today is neighborly love. A dispute arose between two neighbors in England, and this was because of a tree. They were neighbors for 28 years, and one of them complained about a tree that grew between their homes. The neighbor was unhappy because of the pigeons that nested on the tree, causing bird droppings in his yard. Now, after several rounds of discussions, the neighbor called a tree surgeon who cut the tree into half. A picture of the tree cut into half in the middle between two houses attracted lots of attention, making its rounds on social media. This was an unusual yet a visual dispute between neighbors. And yet, there are invisible disputes between ourselves, our neighbors, and the people around us. A lawyer once asked a question to Jesus. I'm reading from Matthew chapter 22, 36 to 39. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And he said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like this. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. So how can we love our neighbors as ourselves? Now I want to share with you what C.S. Lewis wrote in his book Mere Christianity. Firstly, loving your neighbor doesn't mean constantly feeling very fond of him. Look at yourself. Do you always think fondly of yourself? Sometimes we may think well of ourselves, but sometimes when we do something wrong, we feel bad about it and don't think well of ourselves. But does that mean you force yourself to love yourself when you know that you have done something wrong? Similarly, we can't force ourselves to love someone when we know they have done something wrong. For many people, forgiving our enemies means trying to think that they are not bad people at all when it's plain that they did something wrong. Secondly, we are told to hate the sin and not the sinner. But how can we hate the sin and not the sinner? Because often we are unable to differentiate both. So now, let's pause and take a look at ourselves. I realize that there are some things I do which I am not happy about. I don't hate myself for it, but I do hate what I did. And however much I disliked my behavior, I went on loving myself. C.S. Lewis says, Christianity does not want us to reduce by one atom the hatred we feel for cruelty and treachery. We ought to hate them. Not one word of what we have said about them needs to be unsaid, but it does want us to hate them in the same way in which we hate things in ourselves, being sorry that the man should have done such things and hoping, if it is any way possible, that somehow, sometime, somewhere he can be cured and made human again. Jesus forgives us even though we don't deserve it. So much so, he left his heavenly glory to be born as a human, crucified on the cross, and rose again, that we, believing in him, will be forgiven. The story is told of Corrie ten Boom, who hid Jews in her home. Later, she and her family were found out and were put in a concentration camp. At the end of the war, she was the one who survived while she lost the rest of her family. Once speaking in a church in Munich, she saw a man seated in the audience. She recognized him as one of the cruelest guards at one of the camps, but he did not recognize her. After her talk on forgiveness, this man walks up to her and extends his hand to her. He complimented her for the message, saying, "Thank you. How wonderful to know that our sins are forgiven." The man continued, "I came to know Jesus and he forgave me. I would like to hear from you that God has forgiven me." Corrie ten prayed, Jesus, help me. And she extended her hand to him and she felt healing and warmth. Today, take a moment to look at your life. Are there neighbors, relatives, friends and family that you are finding it difficult to love? Well, I encourage you today to stretch out your hand in love to them.
Dear listener, we are here to stand with you in your time of need. We want to pray with you and for your prayer request. Do you need someone to talk to? We are here for you. Call us or send a message at +91 636 425 2164. God bless you.